Hello everybody, it's Zach,
the Dark Conservatarian,
back with another video. Before we get on with the main subject of this video, a subscriber of mine named KattChatt made this bit of fan art of me, and I gotta say, my face is not that much stretched out. I mean, it's a little bit rounder than that, and plus my nose and lips are a little bit bigger than that, but all in all, it's a great capture of me, and you can really tell that it is me. And I gotta say, thank you KattChatt for making this fan art. I feel real honored that a fan actually made some fan art of me. To everyone who has been subscribed to my channel for a while, remember AJ Plus, you know, that channel that I did like 4 response videos to their illegal immigration apologisms? Well, they're back with it again.
Here are the 5 strongest arguments against immigration and why they're wrong.
Wait, that's not Dina Takruri. That's Nick Gillespie of ReasonTV. I mean, why the fuck are they? Ugh. Never mind. Let's just get this over with. I gotta say, as somebody who is subscribed to ReasonTV, I expected a whole lot better from them. And I don't usually use this word a whole lot because really, in the end, it is just a silly and rather meaningless word, but I think it really fits in this circumstance right here. ReasonTV has
cucked
for illegal immigration.
No issue is more hotly contested today than immigration, with restrictionists calling for the deportation of all illegals and a 50% cut in legal immigration.
And open border advocates being apologists for breaking the law.
Here are the 5 strongest arguments against immigration and why they're wrong.
Already confusing and conflating the issues by not differentiating the terms of immigration and illegal immigration. You know, I expect this from a liberal Democrat, not from a libertarian like you, Nick Gillespie. Come on, get the terminology correct. Are you specifying immigration or illegal immigration? Because there are isolationists out there who believe that we shouldn't have any immigration at all, but then there are people who aren't isolationists but still believe that we should have a strong immigration policy and so henceforth are against illegal immigration, but not all immigration. Emphasis on that.
So with immigration, you better be smart and you better be tough, and they're taking your jobs and you better be careful.
So which is it, President Trump? Do we have record low unemployment, or are immigrants stealing all the jobs?
Yeah, according to these 4 graphs that I'm pulling up for you, the labor force participation rate has not hardly budged at all ever since Trump had took office. So the fact that Trump might be claiming that we have record low unemployment is the same thing that Obama had been pulling during his administration, saying we have record low unemployment, but then on the other hand, look at how many people who are chronically lazy and not looking for work, the people who are not participating in the labor force. So considering all this, I'll say that it's the latter.
Or are immigrants stealing all the jobs?
The worst case estimates are that low-skill immigrants reduce the wages of high school dropouts by less than 5%.
Citation needed.
According to fairus.org, about 40 to 50% of wage loss among low-skilled Americans between 1980 and 1994 was due to the immigration of low-skilled workers. If we were to crack down on illegal immigration specifically, wouldn't we be able to cut that percentage in half at least and save a lot of legal citizens' wages?
That's not nothing, but immigrants make things cheaper for all Americans by doing jobs such as picking fruit or cleaning up on construction sites. The money saved can be devoted to other productive uses, which also creates jobs.
If we were to crack down on illegal immigration, therefore enabling all these low-skilled jobs to native citizens and legal migrants, and also would put back in value into low-skilled labor wages, wouldn't the low-skilled legal citizenry have more purchasing power to compensate for probable price increases? And say if we gotten rid of the minimum wage entirely, which I know that you all at ReasonTV are all for, by the way, Wouldn't newcomers in the labor force, for example, high school graduates and college students, have an easier time finding a job, specifically in these said low-skilled jobs, and also keep the prices for said goods at tolerably low levels as the payment for their labor would be lower? And before anyone gets mad at me for putting out such an idea of getting rid of the minimum wage, keep in mind that only about 4.3% of the nation's hourly paid workers work at minimum wage, specifically the federal minimum. So if we were to get rid of the federal minimum wage, I don't think that immediately, overnight, or even in a week or month that all businesses will start paying their laborers about only $5 an hour.
In the developed world, there is no correlation between unemployment and immigration rates. Immigrants go to hot economies and they leave when the jobs dry up.
Okay, I find it kind of laughable that you cite us sources from a couple of websites that are seen as not exactly objective journalism, especially New York Times. You would have more chance of convincing me if you cited a source from The Hill, US News, USA Today, a liberal writer from Forbes, or even an article from a website as far left as Daily KO's. According to fairus.org, though, illegals take up as much of something in between 8 to 8.5 million of the jobs here in the U.S. You telling me that if we did deport all the illegal immigrants in here and enforce the border and the laws that we wouldn't save those said jobs to legal citizens?
Why would you want to bring people who are immediately dependent on welfare when they get here? Don't you want people who add something immediately to your country?
Since the late 90s, most legal immigrants and all illegals are barred from receiving most forms of welfare.
That doesn't prove anything in the least bit, Nick. Foreigners are also barred from entering into this country without having their papers and criminal background checked.
But they still break the law.
So what makes you think that just because they are barred from receiving welfare that they'll obey that law?
And they broke the law to get here in the first place.
The only real taxpayer-funded services most immigrants use are emergency medical treatments that account for less than 2% of all healthcare spending, and K-12 education for their children, who are often U.S. citizens. Immigrants who do qualify for programs such as Medicaid, food stamps, or supplemental Social Security use these programs at lower rates than native-born Americans or naturalized citizens.
Actually, illegals do receive a form of welfare through tax returns, according to CNS News, through fraudulently received Social Security numbers or individual taxpayer identification numbers. They claim child tax credits in their tax returns that ends up in a net loss of $4 billion. I would link the original source for this article right here, but I think that the specific article from CNS News has contracted a virus or something last that I checked. But I did, however, link a video of myself reading the article sometime earlier last year, so there you go.
Legal immigrant men also have a higher labor force participation rate than natives.
Aside from isolationists, nobody is trashing on legal migrants, so moving on.
And illegals are even more likely to be working than legal immigrants.
Well, no
Shit, Sherlock.
They would have to be participating more in the labor force in order for them to push more and more legal citizens out of the labor force, henceforth kind of strengthening the idea that they are stealing our jobs.
They're here illegally. They're not paying taxes, okay? I've heard this one before, too. I hear them all.
Legal immigrants pay the exact same taxes as all Americans.
Excuse me.
Illegals pay the same sales and property taxes, and between half and 2/3 also end up paying payroll and income taxes because they use fake Social Security cards and other documents to get hired.
And is that justified? Are you going to call that out, or are you going to just be passive about them breaking the law in that area? I find it pretty sad that you guys at Reason did not source your claims in this video, but I think I did ultimately find the article that you guys were referring to. It comes from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, and not only does this website seem like a particularly biased one, but also in the particular article that I think you guys are referring to, it doesn't even factor in child tax credits. And plus, I have sources that say otherwise on this said claim, so what now?
And if we want unauthorized immigrants to contribute more in taxes, the best way to accomplish that is to change their legal status.
Yeah, encourage more law breaking by rewarding them for their original law breaking.
What I would suggest they do is that they go back to their home country, get in line with the hundreds of thousands of people from their home country who are trying to do it legally.
For many immigrants, especially from Mexico, there really is no line. In 2010, for instance, just 65,000 visas were given to Mexicans.
65,000 sounds like a very long line.
with the overwhelming majority going to close family members such as spouses and minor children. The wait list had 1.4 million people on it, effectively meaning there is no chance of ever getting in. Long wait lists also exist for the Philippines, China, India, and other countries. And for all the fear of what restrictionists call chain migration, family reunification consists almost exclusively of U.S. citizens bringing their spouses and unmarried minor children to live here.
Yeah, are you sure about that? Because according to Numbers USA right here, that extends out to married sons and daughters and brothers and sisters as well.
The backlogs for most countries means that this can take between 15 and 25 years. If you start to bring your sister over when she's 25, you'll be lucky to welcome her by the time she turns 40.
I'm sure you have some very compelling evidence to back up these claims and a massive list of sources. Oh.
You should not import people numerous enough to influence your society, change its laws, and destroy your culture.
Exactly the same complaints were made about newcomers like the Irish, the Jews, and the Italians.
She wasn't complaining about the race of the immigrants that we are taking into our country. She's complaining about the fact of that we are taking in more immigrants nowadays than ever before in the past, damn it.
Yet about 1/3 of Mexican immigrants marry outside their ethnicity or race, which is the same percentage as it was a quarter century ago.
Not important to Lauren's point that she was trying to make.
Successive generations also see massive gains in household income and home ownership rates.
Also not important to the point she was trying to make. The point she was making was how immigrants will affect one country's culture, not the GDP or median household income, or whatever you were talking about there. For example, about 70% of Latin Americans generally vote Democrat, the party that pushes for a rise in the minimum wage, which again, Mr. Gillespie, you all at ReasonTV are against. So for in this example, wouldn't it make more sense in your eyes to take in immigrants at a moderated rate and not at an overwhelming rate, so that maybe if we do take them in at a moderated rate, it'll give them time to adapt to our culture and learn why the minimum wage is a bad idea, and ultimately not vote for the party that goes against you guys' position on this issue?
En este video te voy a mostrar el acento gringo.
And when it comes to learning English, all signs are that Hispanics are more likely to speak English at home than in years past.
Whatever, I'm gonna just give you guys the benefit of the doubt on this one. I've already broke my back putting in all the research that I have into this video. I could have just been all like no bullshit and be all like, oh, I don't have to provide sources, you retard, but that's not me. And so for all of that, I hope you guys who have watched this video had enjoyed, and to all of you, this ain't as bad as AJ+, but it's still pretty bad, especially at some of the points in this video where Nick Gillespie was confusing legal and illegal immigration, when there are those who, yeah, might be against all kinds of immigration, but then there are those of us who are not against all immigration, but are just against illegal immigration, and not going to be apologists for it, and in fact going to be outspoken against the apologists for it, like I have for so many times with AJ+, and now with ReasonTV. And I gotta say, this was a real damn disappointment. Thanks for nothing, ReasonTV. Actually, I take that back. Thank you for giving me some cannon fodder to respond to. I'm Zach the Dark Conservatarian. If you guys like this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see y'all later. God bless.